What's up guys, and welcome back to my next video in my Bloodborne comic series review, and this one is from The Veil Torn Asunder issue 14. So before we get into the review, as per usual, I'm going to show you each of the cover variants, and for this issue as well I also have a special one from the previous issue which only just came out a couple of weeks ago. So first up, I'll show you this one. I haven't taken it out of the package yet, but this is a black and white version of the first cover for the previous issue. Now it's black and white, but the writing here is in red. I've got this one from Forbidden Planet, and honestly I think this is a much better cover than the one that came out. I really love the contrast between the writing and just the black and white. It looks really badass, and yeah, really love the black and white edition. I find it more interesting than the colour one for some reason. So no offence to the person who did the artwork for the original, but I think it just looks a lot better in black and white. And so onto the covers for issue 14. We have 3 this time, A, B and C. So first up we have cover A here. Now this is a really weird, colourful one, and what we do see here is the hunter with the saw blade extended, and if you've never played the game you probably have no idea what this thing is, but I'm pretty sure this is a Bretus, the big sort of dragon creature boss. It's very cartoony, I would say, in this cover, but that is what it seems to be. So it seems like this issue or this series is probably going to have a bit more emphasis on the creatures and the bosses, which I love. So that is cover A. Next up is cover B. This is probably my favourite of the 3 here, and this one depicts a picture of like sort of a room with a giant mirror, and like the other one with the mirror as well, or the picture frame, this one has Rom in it, and you can see the spiders crawling up the pictures again and some weird skulls, so you would assume it's probably the same sort of building. But yeah, we have Rom in the middle, so it seems to be going along with the theme of the things behind the veil, as in the mirror, like 2 worlds. And yeah, so this is my favourite one of issue 14. And last but not least is issue 14 cover C. Now this one depicts a hunter walking through what seems to be looks like they're one of the chalice dungeons, to be honest. There's loads of cobwebs everywhere, and you can see like the lanterns that have smoke coming out of them. If this isn't a chalice dungeon, it's probably that area where all the spiders come down from the ceiling, but either way it's a really badass cover now, and there's a lot of themes of spiders and spider webs, so I'm not sure if that's going to play into the story of this one. I know that the previous series, A Song of Crows, focused a lot on the spiders, so yeah, let's have to wait and see what happens with this one. So now on to the review with each of the other series. It's done by Kott, Kowalski and Simpson. So in the previous issue we were introduced to the character that I like to call the Traveller. He's someone who's not from Yharnam, and he's come to try and find out what's so special about this place and unique about it, and he certainly finds some things that aren't too pleasant about it. So this issue takes place basically after the previous one, after he'd read some scripture. The issue deals with a lot of themes of nightmares and dreams and sort of like what's real, like in the previous issue, and that definitely follows through into this one. A lot of this issue you can't actually place yourself if this is in a dream or a nightmare or the past, or if this is reality or not real at all, and that's one of the main things that goes on with the character, and it's also something that goes on with the reader when you're reading it. I think that's the intention here. You're kind of confused about what time period this is, if it's a dream or whether what we're seeing is actually happening, and that just goes on to what the character's thinking as well. And this is summed up in one of the pages. I think a lot of it is repeated throughout, but it says the truth within a truth and the dream within a dream, so it just gives you this feeling that you don't know what you're seeing is a dream or reality, and that is just something that's probably going to go out throughout this whole series. And we had a lot of that in the last one, but that one was to do with someone who was familiar with Yharnam, whereas this one is a traveller who's come to Yharnam and has really no idea what to expect, so he's kind of a fish out of water. From what I can see, all of this started with the character when they went diving with the big nautical suit and they saw this sort of vision creature, shadowy figure under the water. Now I think this is what started it all, which is maybe what made him see beyond the veil of reality and into what's going on in Yharnam. So following suit of all of the other issues, the art here is spectacular, and we have a 2-page spread quite early on in the issue, and it depicts the Traveller kind of waking up in a blood moon Yharnam, and he's on the floor kind of kneeling down, and he's completely naked for some reason. And this shot reminded me of the Terminator. He looks exactly like when Arnold Schwarzenegger travels through time and he's just there on the floor, and they kind of look the same sort of pose and everything, and I found that's quite funny, but I'm sure that's probably something to do with the character's like awareness of where they are and how they got there. One of the main things you think about during this issue is whether this is actually happening or not, and we do get to see images of the Traveller sort of with his eyes glazed over or rolling back in his head, and he's looking at the scripture that he was reading in the previous one. So I'm not too sure if him reading this is giving him sort of like a hallucination or a vision of what he's seen when he's naked in this pale blood Yharnam. So that's one thing that I would like to know more about, whether he's actually seeing it or he's been transported there through the veil. Okay, the best thing for me definitely in this issue is that we get to see a couple of bosses from the game, and they're actually clashing by the looks of things. We do see the Dark Beast Paul, and I'm pretty sure the other one is the one Reborn. I can't be sure if that's the one, but getting to see them two in the same sort of panel together was really awesome, and just the detail they put into those creatures. Yeah, for me it's about time we got to see some of the more iconic creatures of the Bloodborne series in the comic. And honestly, I don't know why they would be in a conflict. It doesn't really go into too much detail about what they are fighting over, or whether it's just them being naturally beasts and they just want to duke it out. But yeah, it's just so good to see some of the bosses in the game get some love. And I think the Traveller is actually witnessing this as well, and this one quote was quite interesting to me that I found plays into some of the things that are mentioned in the game, some of the lore of the game. And the Traveller says, "Are we but you, but wearing new flesh?" And that is something that has been talked about a lot in the Bloodborne series, whether that the bosses in the game are actually the hunters that have transcended the hunt. Once they've killed all the enemies and got to where they need to be, they become so powerful and so mad from the blood vials, they become the beasts, they become the bosses and the monsters. So I thought that was quite interesting, and yeah, I obviously want to know what you guys think about that. There's another really cool panel page of imagery where we see the Traveller trying to think about things, and it kind of looks like he's going insane. I'm assuming it's a hallucination, but it kind of looks like his face is melting away over, say, 12 different panels. You see his face just decaying, and it's a really badass couple of pages. It reminded me a lot of the Raiders of the Lost Ark when the guy opens it and his face just melts away. So yeah, that was a really cool scene, seeing it go from normal looking face to just this disgusting melted face. There's another really cool page in this comic. There's not actually that much going on with it. It's a completely black page, but in the centre is the Traveller. So you get this sense of isolation and that he's in the darkness, and he's just in complete like shock by the look on his face. His jaw is dropped, and it actually reminded me of the ending of the movie Sleepaway Camp with the character screaming on the beach. If you know what I'm on about, then obviously you know that scene is infamous, but it just reminded me of that because of the way his jaws drop. Like I said, a lot of the dialogue in this one seems to be repeated, and I think that is purposely done for you to be confused about where along the timeline is he saying this. Like, it keeps going from different parts of the story, and when he's repeating it, it kind of makes you think of the order of this narrative of this issue. Is it happening all before and he's like thinking back on it, or is time just completely messed up? I'm pretty sure he's reading the scripture, and the rest of the comic is a realization of what he's seen afterwards, so he keeps repeating it every time we go back to him reading the scripture. And it leaves it with a question about what happens with him. There seems to be a lot of blood when he's reading the scripture, so I guess we'll find out more about what he's done during the time period he was reading the scripture. So that's all I've really got to say about this issue. We got to see some bosses, we got to see some really cool imagery, and yeah, we get to see a lot more about the veil and the character of the Traveller, and we got to see some cool ass bosses. So I'm really interested to find out where this issue goes. If you have any questions about this issue, or if you've read it and you want to discuss some of the things that happen in it, or some theories that go along with some of the things I've mentioned in this video, then let me know down below in the comment section. This is going to be it for this issue, so I will see you very shortly with issue 15, and thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.